Part 1. The Drone Revolution. A $500 drone just destroyed a $3 million tank. Not in a lab, not in a simulation. In real combat, filmed on a shaky smartphone, uploaded within minutes, and watched by millions before the smoke even cleared. And that's the part most people miss. It's not just the explosion. It's the speed, the visibility, the fact that anyone can see it, copy it, and do it again tomorrow. You've seen the clips. A buzzing sound, a shadow overhead, then impact. It feels almost unfair, because it is. For most of military history, destroying a tank required another tank, or a missile system that cost tens of thousands of dollars. Now, a quadcopter the size of a dinner plate, carrying a modified grenade, flown by someone who learned on a gaming controller. Part 2. Meet the operator. Meet Artem. He's 27, former IT technician. Kyiv. In March 2022, he wasn't a soldier. By April, he was flying FPV drones, first-person view, meaning he sees exactly what the drone sees, hunting armored vehicles. His setup? A $1,200 kit, goggles, controller, battery packs. His targets? Tanks worth more than his entire apartment building. And sometimes, he wins. Actually, often. Part 3. What changed? So what changed? Why are drones suddenly everywhere? From Ukraine to the Middle East to the South China Sea. Because they hit a perfect storm, cheap enough to mass produce, smart enough to hit precisely, and expendable enough that losing one doesn't matter. That combination breaks the math of war. Part 4. The origins. Let's rewind. Back in the 1990s, drones were basically flying cameras. The US used systems like the RQ-1 Predator, introduced in 1995, with a 17-meter wingspan, endurance of 24 hours, and a price tag around $20 million per unit. It didn't drop bombs at first, it just watched. And that alone was revolutionary, because seeing everything changes everything. Part 5. Weaponization. Then came the next step, weapons. By 2001, the Predator was modified to carry AGM-1114 Hellfire missiles, each costing around $150,000. Suddenly, the drone wasn't just watching targets, it was eliminating them, high-value targets. Terrorist leaders, vehicles, buildings, precise, surgical, controlled from thousands of kilometers away. No pilot in danger. That was the first hint. Part 6. The cost shift. Now fast forward to the Bayraktar TB2, Turkey, introduced around 2014. Cost, roughly $5 million per unit. Endurance, 27 hours. Payload, 4 laser-guided MAM-L bombs. By 2022, Ukraine used TB2s to destroy Russian convoys stretching kilometers long. According to Ukrainian defense reports, a handful of these drones inflicted tens of millions of dollars in losses in days. One drone, multiple strikes. It wasn't even close. Here's the problem. A modern fighter jet like the F-35 costs about $80 million. A TB2, around $5 million. A small FPV drone, sometimes under $1,000. So now imagine this. You can lose 80 drones for the cost of one jet, and each one can still kill something valuable. That's not just efficiency, that's a shift in power. Part 7. Mass production and adaptation. And then mass production kicks in. China produces millions of commercial drones every year. Companies like DJI dominate the global market, with some estimates suggesting over 70% market share. These aren't military systems, they're consumer products, but in war the line disappears fast. Attach a grenade, modify the firmware, add a camera feed. You've just built a weapon. We saw early versions of this in Iraq and Syria. Around 2016, ISIS began using off-the-shelf drones, costing a few $100s, to drop small explosives on Iraqi forces. Crude, limited, but effective enough to cause chaos. It wasn't about precision, it was about fear, and it worked. Part 8. FPV warfare. Now take that concept and refine it. Enter FPV drones. Speed up to 150 km, range 5-10 kilometers, cost $502,000 depending on build. These are essentially flying missiles controlled in real time. The operator wears goggles and dives the drone directly into the target. No guidance system, no lock-on, just human reflexes and nerves. Part 9. The weak point. And here's the brutal part. Modern tanks like the Russian T-72 or T-90 are designed to withstand massive impact. From the front and sides, thick armor, reactive tiles that explode outward to deflect incoming rounds. But the top, thin, vulnerable, because historically, threats didn't come from above. Now they do. So a $1,000 drone flies overhead, drops a grenade, straight into the hatch, and that's it. The crew inside, usually 3 people, has seconds, sometimes less. It's not a fair fight anymore. Part 10, the battlefield reality, and it's not just tanks, infantry. Imagine you're in a trench, you hear a buzzing sound, you look up, but it's already too late. There's no warning radar, no missile alert system, just sound, then impact, silence. Part 11, countermeasures and evolution. Of course, militaries adapt. They deploy electronic warfare systems, basically machines that jam signals, cutting the connection between drone and operator. Think of it like turning off Wi-Fi in the middle of a video call. The drone loses control, falls, crashes. Problem solved? Not quite, because drones are getting smarter. Some newer systems use onboard AI, meaning they don't need constant human control. You give them a target profile, and they find it themselves. No signal to jam, no operator to interrupt. They just continue. Part 12, loitering munitions. This brings us to loitering munitions, also called kamikaze drones. Take the Israeli IAI Harop, introduced in the early 2000s. Range about 1,000 kilometers. Endurance, 6 hours. It flies over an area, searching for radar emissions, basically anything broadcasting signals, then dives straight into it, destroying both itself and the target. It's a missile that waits and chooses. Part 13, the new battlefield. In 2020, Azerbaijan used these drones extensively in the Nagorno-Karabakh War. Armenian air defenses, designed to shoot down planes, struggled against small, low-flying drones. Result, dozens of armored vehicles destroyed, air defense systems knocked out. The battlefield shifted in weeks, fast. And now, Ukraine, Gaza, Red Sea shipping lanes, even tensions around Taiwan. Drones aren't just a tool anymore. They're a layer of warfare, like land, sea, air, and now this invisible swarm above you. Part 14. Scale and future, and the numbers are staggering. Ukraine reportedly produces tens of thousands of FPV drones per month as of 2024. Russia, similar scale, not hundreds, tens of thousands. At that volume, losses don't matter. Only impact does. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You don't need a defense contractor anymore. You need parts, a battery, a camera, a bit of skill. That's it. War has democratized. Which means the barrier to entry drops fast. A new recruit can learn to fly an FPV drone in weeks, sometimes days, using simulators that look like video games, because they are. The same reflexes, the same coordination, different consequences. And drones don't sleep. Thermal cameras see heat signature in complete darkness. Endurance drones stay airborne for 20+ hours. You can run, hide, camouflage, but the drone is still watching. Camouflage used to mean something. Now, maybe it buys you minutes, maybe seconds. Because once spotted, the response is immediate. And then comes the next step. Swarms. Not one drone. Not 10. Hundreds. Thousands. All coordinating. All moving. All overwhelming defenses, simply by existing in numbers. Air defense systems like the US Patriot are designed to intercept missiles costing millions of dollars. Using them to shoot down $1,000 drones, that's like using a Ferrari to chase a bicycle. Technically possible, economically insane. So now we're here, a battlefield where the cheapest weapon might be the most dangerous, where visibility is constant, where survival depends not just on armor, but on adaptation. And we've only covered the surface, because the next category of drones, they don't just observe, they decide, and that's where things get really uncomfortable. Part 1, Autonomous Warfare. The next step isn't louder, it's quieter, because the most dangerous drones today don't need you. We're talking about autonomous strike drones, not remotely piloted, not joystick controlled. You give them parameters, anything that looks like a tank, or any heat signature moving at night, and they handle the rest. Find, track, decide, strike. No human in the loop, just code. And before you think this is science fiction, it's already here. In 2021, a United Nations report described a Turkish-made Kargu-2 drone weighing about 7 kilograms, carrying a small explosive payload that reportedly attacked targets in Libya autonomously. No operator actively controlling it. It just Executed, that's a line we crossed, quietly. The Cargo 2, range, around 5-10 kilometers, flight time, 30 minutes, payload fragmentation charge designed to kill personnel within a few meters, cost, not publicly confirmed, but estimated in the tens of thousands per unit, far cheaper than traditional missiles. It's small, portable, backpack deployable, and it doesn't argue. Now compare that to something like the US-made Switchblade 300, weight, 2.5 kilograms, range 10 kilometers, endurance 15 minutes. It launches from a tube, unfolds its wings, and loiters, meaning it circles overhead, waiting for a target, then dives, operator-controlled, yes, but the targeting assistance, increasingly automated. And the bigger brother, Switchblade 600, is designed specifically to kill armored vehicles. It can stay airborne for over 40 minutes, carry a warhead similar to an anti-tank missile, and hit targets beyond 40 kilometers. Price? Reportedly around $70,000 per system, still cheaper than the tank it's hunting, much cheaper. Part 2, Scale, Cost, and Reality. Then you have the Shahed 113-6, Iranian-made. Introduced around 2020, range up to 2,500 kilometers, speed about 18.5 km fetch. It's not stealthy. In fact, it sounds like a lawnmower in the sky. But it's cheap. Estimates range from $20,000 to $50,000 per unit, and it's built to be used in swarms. Dozens launched at once. Some get shot down, some don't. That's enough. In Ukraine, waves of these drones are used to exhaust air defenses. Each interceptor missile might cost $500,000 or more, so you spend $500,000 to stop a $30,000 drone. Do that 20 times in one night. You see the problem. And when these drones are shot down and recovered, they're surprisingly simple. Commercial GPS modules, basic engines, off-the-shelf electronics, nothing exotic, nothing you couldn't replicate with enough time and parts. That's the terrifying part. It's not just advanced militaries anymore. Now scale back up. High-end systems didn't disappear. They evolved. Take the Chinese Winglong 2. Introduced in 2017. Wingspan, 20.5 meters. Endurance, 32 hours. Payload up to 480 kilograms of guided munitions. Exported to multiple countries, across the Middle East and Africa. It's essentially China's answer to the US Reaper drone. Persistent, armed, watching everything. The MQ-9 Reaper, United States, entered service in 2007. Cost around $32 million per unit. Endurance, 27 hours. Payload, 1,700 kilograms. Hellfire missiles, laser-guided bombs, surveillance equipment. It's not just a drone. It's an airborne hunter, and it's been used in thousands of strikes across multiple countries. But here's the difference. The Reaper requires a full support system, satellite links, ground control stations, trained crews. It's powerful, but it's heavy. Compare that to a backpack drone. One soldier, one target. That's it. Different philosophies. One is precision at scale. The other is chaos at scale. And right now, chaos is winning in many environments. Let me introduce you to Dmytro, 31 years old, former mechanic, Eastern Ukraine. He controls FPV drones from a trench. On a good day, he might launch 5, maybe 10. He knows most won't make it. Jammed, shot down, lost signal. But one is enough. He's destroyed armored vehicles worth millions with something that fits in a backpack. Part 3. The new logic of war. And the attrition is brutal. Thousands of drones lost every month. Burned, crashed, jammed. Doesn't matter, because they are replaceable. That's the new metric. Not survival, replaceability. Now defenses are evolving too. Electronic warfare, remember, that's using signals instead of bullets, is getting stronger. Some systems can jam GPS, block radio frequencies, even hijack drones mid-flight. In theory, you create a bubble where drones simply don't work. In practice, that bubble is never perfect. Because drones adapt. If GPS is jammed, they switch to inertial navigation, basically calculating movement based on internal sensors. If signals are blocked, some use pre-programmed routes. If both fail, they still fly until they crash. And sometimes, that's enough. And then we get to swarms again. Because no defense system can track everything. Radar has limits. Processing has limits. Human reaction has limits. So if you send enough drones, something gets through. Always. And they don't all need to carry explosives. Some are decoys, some jam signals, some just observe. It's layered. Coordinated. It's not one weapon, it's an ecosystem, which brings us to the pattern. And this is the part most people miss. For decades, military power meant bigger, better, more expensive, advanced jets, heavy tanks, precision missiles. The assumption was simple: whoever spends more, wins more. That assumption is breaking, because now, cheap systems can destroy expensive ones, consistently, reliably, at scale. A $1,000 drone versus a $3 million tank. A $30,000 swarm versus a $500,000 interceptor missile. It's not about who has the best weapon anymore. It's about who can afford to lose more and keep going. This is the real shift. War isn't just industrial anymore. It's distributed. Anyone with access to components, knowledge, and intent can participate, not equally, but meaningfully. And for the people on the ground, it changes everything. You're never alone, never unseen. Even when it's quiet, it isn't, because something might be watching. So which drone is the most dangerous? The Reaper? The Shahed? The FPV? Wrong question. The most dangerous one is the one you don't see. The one that's cheap enough to be everywhere, smart enough to adapt, and expendable enough to be used without hesitation. Because once a weapon becomes that easy to use, it stops being rare and starts becoming normal.